De Grey's tenement package covers a number of native title holders with a Garryara group over the top of the Hemi deposit, and we pay our respect to all members of these Indigenous communities. So De Grey's Pilbara project is really a new Australian gold province. Since the discovery of Hemi, it's changed the perception of the prospectivity for the Pilbara for large-scale gold deposits. We discovered Hemi in air-core drilling in 2019, and since 2020 we started drilling RC and diamond, and since then we've defined 9.5 million ounces at Hemi, and that takes the total project resource to 11.7 million ounces. We're currently completing a definitive feasibility study into the project, and that's due out in this September quarter. And we've recently announced a joint venture with Novo Resources to earn 50% interest in an additional 1,000 square kilometres. So that takes our total land position in the Pilbara, in the Mallina Basin, to 2,500 square kilometres. So why is it such a great project? Well, with a PFS study, we had a solid 500 to 600,000 ounces of production per annum forecast. It has one of the lowest capital cost intensity of large undeveloped gold deposits globally, and it's also got lowest quartile operating costs. It's in a Tier 1 jurisdiction. It's around 85 kilometres south of Port Hedland, and it has major highways, power line and gas pipeline within 30 kilometres of the project. We're looking at funding opportunities now, and there's been a lot of interest, looking at various options, and there's been a lot of interest from debt providers. Exploration over the last couple of years has been doing a lot of de-risking, infilling, upgrading from inferred to indicated resources, and working towards that DFS study. All of that drilling's pretty much completed now, so we're pivoting to more exploration and discovery, and I'll obviously be focusing on exploration more in this talk, because that's my job. There's a bit more details on the corporate side of things and the board and management at the end of this presentation, which is available on the ASX. And with that Novo deal, we've got a dominant provincial scale exploration footprint in the Mallina Basin. We put out a resource update in June this year, and that was an 1 million ounce increase on the previous year at Hemi. So as I mentioned, that's 9.5 million ounces now, 11.7 million ounces overall. Importantly, out of that, there was 8.1 million ounces of measured and indicated, so that will underpin a really solid DFS study that we're putting out shortly. This graph shows the production profile forecast in the pre-feasibility study for Hemi, 540,000 ounces production per annum average over the first 10 years. With the DFS study, we're looking at something similar, but at a higher confidence level, and with virtually all that production coming from Hemi alone. So, but that means that we still think there's a lot of upside to the DFS, and there's some of the drivers for exploration going forwards and how exploration can add further value to the project. With the DFS study, there's some conservatism built into the plant design. So there's scalability with the comminution and pressure oxidation circuits, and there's potential to increase that nameplate capacity. So any further near surface shallow increases around Hemi can go to extending that 10-year baseload open pit mine life. We're looking at some deeper drilling now around the Hemi area, and we believe there's very good potential for an underground operation at some stage. And with that DFS, most of the production coming out of Hemi alone, there's opportunity to look at a regional processing hub to produce concentrate that could be in addition to the Hemi open pit production. So with that recent Novo deal, we've got 2,500 square kilometres for the exploration team to look at, and we're keen to get out there and apply some of the discovery lessons from the Hemi discovery. We've learned a lot in the last couple of years on the Mallina Basin stratigraphy, structure and geochemistry. And yeah, we've also built up a lot of regional data sets, and that includes geophysics. We've recently completed gravity surveying over most of the De Grey tenement package, and we're looking to extend that over the Novo ground where it hasn't been done already. This slide here shows some of 14 sea containers full of pulps from all the previous drilling across the project area, and it's really an invaluable source of data. We're going through that and reanalysing selected samples for multi-elements across the whole project area, and that will assist with our understanding of the geology and also targeting for future discoveries. This shows our full tenement package. The recent Novo tenements in orange here, so that's the joint venture tenements. Shows our major deposits, so Hemi, 9.5 million ounces towards the centre of the package. This Withnell mining centre, 1.7 million ounces. That includes Withnell, Taurana and Mallina and any other deposits that we may find west of the Yule River. And it also shows, in these smaller yellow dots, a lot of very prospective targets along the major structures and in various stratigraphic settings that we're currently following up. This shows drill collars coloured by maximum downhole gold across the area, and as you can see, most of the drilling is really focused on the known deposit, so there's large areas with virtually no drilling. And we're keen to get out there and test these undrilled areas. The next slide zooms into this greater Hemi area between the Yule and Turner rivers. So this image shows some of that recent gravity surveying, and it's a fantastic tool for seeing through the transported cover. So in the greater Hemi area, there's about 20 to 40 metres of transported sand and gravels which lie over the top of the mineralised bedrock. And the gravity enables us to see through that and understand more of the geology and the structure below that transported cover. A lot of the drilling or focus in this area has been in this greater Hemi corridor in the yellow-black lines, and we've still got a number of high priority targets that we're looking to follow up there. But with the recent gravity, it's shown some really interesting structural targets north of this 180,000 ounce Mount Berghouse deposit. And this is a 15 to 20 kilometre long strike, virtually no drilling in it, and it's within 10 k's of an almost 10 million ounce ore body, so we're keen to get out there and follow that up with aircore very shortly. So just zooming into the Hemi area in a bit more detail, we've got several rigs drilling at the moment, a couple of diamond rigs testing some deeper targets, and RC rig out at Antwerp here looking to define some shallower resources. In the Hemi area, it's very favourable structurally, and a number of intrusives which host most of the mineralisation there. So that RC rig from Antwerp will move to Brolga South, and then we're keen to get up to this Crow North to Scooby North area along the Duke on thrust, which we're increasingly recognising is a mineralised structure that's very important. Runs between Ducon and Eagle, so we're following that area up with RC, targeting shallow mineralisation, and that can go to extending that base load 10-year open pit mine life. Then looking at potential underground, if you took all the Hemi deposits and laid them out end to end in a composite long section, which is what this is, you come up with around 6 kilometres of strike. In that 6 kilometres, we have 8.5 million ounces above 400 metres depth. The other million ounces are below that, but there has been very little drilling testing that deeper potential, and a lot of these Archean gold systems extend to considerable depth, so we're keen to follow that up with deeper drilling. In that 8.5 million ounces, that runs at around 20 to 25,000 ounces per vertical metre, so obviously significant mineralisation and potential at depth. And we're advancing assessments into the timing and scale of potential underground mining in future. One option would be, for example, to come off the Brolga pit in about year 3 when we're into the fresh, and we could be down into development within the first 5 years of open pit production at Hemi, and that could be concurrent with that open pit production. This shows a long section through the Eagle deposit, and we've recently put out some very good results from there. 26.9 at 10.6, 37 at 3.4, 16.8 at 4.3, 14 at 6. So some really good intersections at depth. This is outside of the resource model, which is in grey there and below the current pit shells. So this is still completely open, and most of the Hemi deposits are still open at depth. Particularly the Ducon deposit also, which is quite close to Eagle and could be accessed off the same decline, for example. So just looking at that regional slide again, we're also fairly active outside the Hemi area, so we recently completed some aircore drilling up in these eastern tenements. We've completed RC at Withnell, Taurana recently, and that rig's now at Charity Well. We're also keen to get out onto this Edgina JV ground, and our regional exploration manager Rod King would be out there today, I think, if he wasn't at this conference. With that PFS study, we had around a bit over 1 million ounces coming out of the regional deposits, but with a DFS, with most of that coming from Hemi, there's potential for a regional operating centre, regional concentrating centre, which could be, say, at the Withnell area, and that could be producing concentrate on top of the Hemi open pit production, and in addition also to the underground at Hemi. This is something we wouldn't be looking at until Hemi was up into production and making money, but you can see that within the first 5 years there's a lot of potential upside to the current DFS that we're working on. This shows our pipeline of the highest priority targets across the project. We've got a lot of targets, but this is really the highest priority ones that we're looking at following up in the next 12 to 18 months, all the way through from early stage target generation through to hopefully defining resources at Hemi underground and regionally. And to conclude, De Grey's focused on bringing this project into production, and from work that we've done, we believe that's the best way to maximise shareholder value. We're looking at increasing the resource base, and that has the potential to add to the DFS within the first 5 years of Hemi production. And we're continuing to grow the organisational capability across the company to bring this project into production. Thank you.